Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Xony, and today we're going to have some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. Now let's get into today's stories to find out what happened. My wife and I were married for one night before I caught her with AP. I know, it's crazy. My wife and I dated for 2.5 years. As part of our religious beliefs, we were to remain pure until marriage. If we didn't hate each other, that was good enough for us to marry and commit ourselves for life. We didn't get to live together or spend more than 3 hours a day together because work and everyday chores took priority. So when we got married, I was very excited and looking forward to the life we had ahead of us. Since we were very close to our family and friends, we had our wedding at a venue with a bed and breakfast, and over half of the people at our wedding got rooms there. Even though I was nervous and didn't think I knew what it meant to be a husband, I meant the vows I took with her. I wanted to learn with her and grow. She, on the other hand, seemed nervous, uncertain, and like she was going through the motions. She'd smile, but her face was full of focus and looked like a mask. My wife and I had been drinking, so our first time making love was awkward and floppy. It worked out great for me, at least. I crashed beside her after our long, meaningful day, full of promises and a hopeful future. Then I woke up at 2:30 am from thirst, only to find my wife was gone. After gulping down water, I started searching for her. I listened in on the doors where wedding guests slept. I knocked on a few, but no one answered and I didn't hear anything. I finally got to a door where I heard voices and crying. I heard my groomsman comforting someone else. He said something about pressing on, even when it seemed impossible. Whoever he was talking to was so upset, I couldn't make out what they said. The comforters said they would always have each other, and any chance they got, they would be together. He called this person babe, sweetheart, and finally said I love you. I recognized his voice as my single unmarried friend, and we were all pretty religious, so I was surprised he had anyone in the room with him unless it was another man and was gay, which would be pretty scandalous. Then I heard my wife's voice, telling him she loved him too. Her tears started flowing again as she told AP that she couldn't hide it anymore. She didn't want to be with me. She wanted to marry him. All she could do to get through the vows was picture them standing at the altar together. The only way she was able to sleep with me was by getting drunk. I covered my mouth to keep from letting out a noise of shock. But my weight shifted and the floor creaked. The door whipped open, and I saw my friend and groomsman, looking shocked and ashamed, with my wife sitting on the bed behind him, eyes and face red. I don't know how I found the words to say at this moment. The news of their affair was so surprising to me. I looked at my wife and told her she shouldn't have pretended to love me. I said I hated her for using me to cover up the relationship she really wanted. If I hadn't found out, she would have ruined my life. I would have been living a lie while she slept with AP behind my back. She was crying very hard and admitted that she was sleeping with my friend. She pleaded with me not to tell her parents or anyone about this. She got on her knees and said she would do anything for a quiet divorce. I told her she was a cheating coward that deserved to be embarrassed and shunned. Facing that would probably be easier than putting on a charade for her entire life. I went back to my room and contemplated what to do. Most of our family and friends would be at a grand breakfast tomorrow, so that's where I planned to tell everyone. The next morning, my wife was laying next to me in our bed, being extremely sweet and loving. I jumped up and yelled that she was disgusting for trying so hard to trick me. She said we could get away with pretending we were married while I slept with anyone I wanted. This went against so many morals I had. I told her to forget about me and accept whatever her future holds. We went downstairs and she was sweating bullets. Before we met everyone, I told her she had to face her consequences for lying to everyone and cheating on me. It might be hard to recover from, but she learned how important it is to live an honest life. I stood in front of the wedding attendees, all blissfully munching away, and told them my wife and I would be getting a divorce. Her dad started choking, and everyone demanded to know why. I told them my wife was sleeping with someone else, and I refused to live a lie. There was a collective gasp and head turned towards my wife. I stepped down to go pack my things, and as soon as I rounded the corner, I heard questions and shouting. Then AP stepped in and it got much worse. The venue actually called the police because the whole family was chaotically yelling at each other, and punches may or may not have been thrown. I think my wife's parents spent $15 on this wedding. That's enough to drive anyone crazy. Then you can add the complete disregard their daughter showed for the religion we all followed. I did not feel bad, because besides cheating on me, this woman was willing to act as my wife for our entire lives. Like that was easier than facing the truth about herself and her actions. I know I did the right thing, even though she ran away with AP, never to be seen in the area again. Her parents sent apologies and gifts, telling me they only wished happiness for me and didn't raise their daughter to behave like this. I have no idea where she is today, but it's without the support of her friends and family. Now let's get into today's second story. I started to suspect something was going on with my wife when she started volunteering at a nonprofit organization. She was never into doing anything that could be called work. She basically got paid to be silly and goofy in videos that she made at home. I guess she had a pretty big online presence, which worked out well for her because she didn't like leaving the house. When she started volunteering in a place that took 25 minutes to drive to, that was out of character for her. Even driving to the grocery store 5 minutes away was enough time away from home. I was listening to someone at work talk about their friend who met this pretty woman at a part-time job he worked at. I really wasn't paying any attention, but to be nice, I asked where he worked. When he said the name of my wife's nonprofit, my ears perked up. I asked if he had a picture of this woman, but he said no. He showed me AP profile on social media, and there it said, in a relationship, but it didn't specify who. My wife's profile always said the same thing, because I didn't have a page. I had a hunch this was fate telling me my wife was cheating. The guy didn't know what his friend's girlfriend's name was either. A part of me wondered why he tried gossiping if he didn't have all the information. I decided to leave work early. My wife mentioned having a few people from the nonprofit at the house today, but they'd be gone before I got home. Now, since I was leaving early, I get there before them. When I walked in the door, my wife's face went pale. She stammered to ask me what I was doing at home and was being hurriedly sweet, asking if I needed anything. I was so amused that I could see her panic. I knew she was cheating on me. She never behaved like this and was about to have someone at the house. At this moment, I owed my gossipy coworker thanks for any future happiness I found with my next partner. I took my time lingering in the hallway by the front door while my wife sweated bullets. I told her I had a stomach ache, so I wanted to see what she was up to. She looked like she wanted to scream at me to go back to work, but she couldn't. She bit her tongue and said the nonprofit people would be here any minute, so I might want to go upstairs or get somewhere a little less boring. I told her no thanks, that I wanted to see what they were up to. I even asked if we could all play Jenga or poker. She was so frustrated, I couldn't help but laugh. She asked what was so funny, and I laughed more. I said nothing, and then the doorbell rang. I rushed to answer it, but my wife was faster. She blocked the door, standing with her back against it. She said she was embarrassed of her friends because they weren't half as cool as me. I laughed hard, but I was getting annoyed. She was lying through her teeth, trying anything to keep me from discovering the truth. I fake bolted to go for the back door, and while my wife was in full momentum that way, opened the front door. There was a very confused and scared man looking at me, the same one I saw on the profile. I introduced myself as my wife's husband and asked what he was looking for. My wife appeared by the door, looking even more uncertain and panicked than he was. I laughed out loud and said they were both scared little dip crabs. I said I knew what was going on between them, and my wife needed to leave. AP turned to go, and my wife stepped back inside the house, dropping to her knees. No sound came out of her mouth, but she was sobbing. I yelled for AP to look at her now. He did, then drove away quickly. At this moment, I knew I made a terrible mistake marrying her. I was always a very hardworking and reasonable person, and opposites attract. So I married a lazy jokester that didn't know what she wanted out of life. She begged me not to leave her or make her leave. She was scared and had nowhere else to go since we'd been married for 11 years and lived states away from her relatives. I told her that wasn't my problem and that there are resources out there for sleazy women like herself. People would always be willing to lend a hand to a pitiful woman in need. I pushed her and her stuff out the door and locked it. We had 2 cars, but they were both mine. So I didn't give her one. She found somewhere to go with the use of her smartphone because she was gone in a few hours. I don't know if this was the only time she cheated on me or not. But regardless, I'm glad I discovered the truth. I made my coworker a thank you for your big mouth basket. My ex only ever contacted me to beg me for stuff. I never gave her anything, and she still survived, no matter how tough it was. It's been a while since she got a ride back to the state her relatives lived in. I don't know who she still had contact with since their relationship was never great, and she'd been away for 11 years. I managed to start dating again, and I'm just happy to be alive and given a second chance at finding love.